What's going on, guys? This is BunnyMuffins. Today we have the TFT patch notes for patch 11.18. So with the vital balance outliers adjusted in our 11.17 mid-patch update, 11.18 turns the focus to opening up more late game frontline options with nerfs to staple frontliners such as Ivern, Jax, and Volibear, continuing to adjust Radiant items and making 3-star forecasts feel as dangerous as they should be. We also got the new Inktail Little Legends and Esports Pengu. Alright, so patch highlights, we have buffs to Locket and Stark's Favor. These are both the Radiant versions. We adjusted Ivern, and then we nerfed Jax, Volibear, Kayle, Lucian, Bloodthirster, and Stoneplate. No surprises there. All 4 of these champions were all really good. Same with Ivern, and it turns out Lucian was broken. We had Sentinels as the only comp in the S tier last Friday, so that should change in the next coming week after this nerf. So we'll get into the skins later. Let's get on to the actual changes first. Let's scroll down to the large changes. So large, like my dreams of LP gains. And looking at Draven's attack damage, 90 to 95, he gets a slight buff. Draven's spinning axe flat damage is also getting a buff at 2 and 3 star, and then his spinning axe damage scaling also getting a buff at 3 stars. So that goes along the lines of getting a 3-star forecast. Galio Shield of the Duran damage is being changed from 1200 to 1500 at 3 stars, so it doesn't really change much for ordinary people. And then Galio Shield of Duran damage reduction is now being nerfed at level 1, nerfed at level 2, but buffed at level 3. Okay, that is going to be a good change for Galio. He was like one of the best tank liners in my opinion in the comps that he fit in. Ivern Daisy's knockup is now being changed 1.5 to 0.5, 2 to 0.5, and then staying at 6 at 3-star Ivern. And then Daisy's health is being buffed at 1 star, buffed at 2 star, and remains the same at 3 star. And then Ivern's attack damage is being buffed by 10 damage. So overall, I definitely think this is a nerf. Like, getting a tiny bit of health on Daisy is nothing compared to losing a full second at level 1 and a full 1.5 seconds at level 2 for the knockup duration. That's a long time, guys. Like, 2 seconds in a TFT fight. Fights are around like 45 seconds, but we all know that like things can change so much in 2 seconds, especially on an AoE knockup, so that is definitely huge there. So Jax's health being nerfed by 50, Jax's empowered attack speed bonus is being nerfed at 1 and 2 star, and then his empowered strike slam attack damage scaling is being buffed at 3 star. Alright, so Jax overall, quite a few hits there. I think he's still going to be useful as like the 4th Ironclad if you have Ironclad Spatula, but I do think that you'll actually have to itemize him if you run him as a secondary carry instead of being naked like how they talk about here. So Lucian, the culling magic damage is being nerfed a tiny bit, 50 to 40, 90 to 70 at levels 1 and 2, so that's actually pretty sizable. That's a 20% and around like another 20%, 22% nerf. At 2 stars. So yeah, quite a bit of nerfs overall across the board for all these 4 cost units. Now onto the 5 cost units, we have Kayle attack damage being changed from 75 to 80. Kayle's first ascension attack damage scaling is being changed from 80 and 90 to 60 and 80, so nerfs across the board there. And then Volibear, Doombringer no longer destroys shields, instead it will deal double damage to shields. Alright, so this is a slight nerf. Overall, like, I think it is good that they are nerfing Ivern and Volibear. You literally threw them into any comps even if you shared no synergies with them, just because they're by default the best late game frontline. Volibear's Doombringer damage is now being nerfed at 25 damage at level 1, 50 damage at level 2. Overall, I actually think these make sense. Believe it or not, I don't often say this for a lot of the large changes that they do in their patch notes, but so far, like, so good, guys. So items, like me in my PE flashbacks, Locket and Statikk Favor are almost never picked. So Radiant Blessed Bloodthirster health shield percent is being nerfed from 60% to 40%. Yeah, Bloodthirster was really good on stuff like Lucian, for example, or any of the other attack damage carries. Radiant Stoneplate, armor and magic resist is being nerfed by 10, and then Radiant Locket is now gaining a bonus 200 health for all allies at the start of combat. I like that a lot. I do feel like Radiant Locket was a little weak compared to all the other ones. I never really picked it because I always thought of Locket as like an early game item, and by the time you get the Radiant items, you just really don't need that shield that much anymore unless it's like a ridiculous amount. Is this now the new ridiculous amount? I'm not really too sure. They did nerf the shield though by the same 200 health at each level, so overall you gain like the permanent 200 health but lose like a temporary shield, so overall that is going to be a buff obviously, but how much that is going to change remains to be seen. Radiant Statikk Shiv is being increased in terms of its magic shred from 50% to 70%. I really don't like the new identity of Statikk Shiv being like a anti-magic resist item. I feel like it should always be like an attack speed on hit based item, but They never really liked those, and that's why they removed all of them from the game. But in terms of like the current meta, this change, it might make it better in games where you don't have an Ionic Spark, for example, when you're running like a Vel'Koz or any type of AP comp. So small changes, like the LP gains in my reality. Okay. So traits, I've been yodeling from the mountaintops for this buff. Hellion attack speed is going to be increased at 6 and 8 Hellion by just a tiny bit. Shouldn't really change too much. No one really plays 6 or 8 Hellion. Champion 1 tier, as Chug Jug enjoyers ourselves, we're happy with the damage Gragas can gulp down, but the damage he puts out is diluted compared to the dedication it takes to brew up a 3-star. So his Drunken Rage damage is actually being increased at 3-star, so we will be seeing more Chug Jug comps. In case you guys didn't know, that is a Gragas comp because he like chugs from his jug and then smacks people with it. Champion tier 2, he's making a list and checking it twice. Pyke will now always choose a new combat target after his dash. This improves his consistency at stunning units in the corner, especially when dashing short distances. Alright, so I'm guessing that is a small buff. Nidalee health being reduced by 50. Nunu's consume damage is being nerfed by 50 as well across the board. Nunu I actually think is like one of the best early to mid game tanks. He just eats pretty much everyone he faces, so that's why I like him a lot. So it is probably worth the nerf. Yasuo Burning Blade cast time reduced. Not really sure what the magnitude of this buff is, but I'm sure it does help. Champion tier 4, it's hard to 3-star a 4-cost, so it should be definitely worth doing so. Some callouts here, 3-star Diana will likely be overkill. 3-star Karma will only be delayed from her next cast by the spell's lockout time. Alright, so Aphelios Dark Vigil attack damage scaling is being buffed at 3-star by 25%. Base damage buffed by 100 at 3-star. And then Diana is going from 2,000 to 3,000 damage. Fiddlesticks, 600 to 750. I'm surprised they're buffing Fiddlesticks. I personally haven't seen a Fiddle 3-star, but I've seen Fiddle 2-stars just one-shotting every board they already face with items. So I imagine the 3-star version, they're going to do it really quickly, I guess. Instead of taking 1 second to kill your whole team, it'll take 0.75 or whatever. So Karma's Soul Flare damage is being increased from 750 to 850, and then mana reduction 30 to 40. So all the 3-star 4 costs going to be much better. But we only get those in like maybe 1 out of every 20 games or something like that. I don't actually know the math, but I'm just guessing there. Champions tier 5, Viego Sovereign's domination damage is being changed from 180 to 150, 360 to 400. So nerfed at level 1, buffed at level 2. I like this change a lot because 1-star Viego should not be stealing carries. I thought it was actually fine with the nerfs to Viego from last patch, but I guess they want to make it even more extreme. I'm afraid he just does nothing at 1-star now. So we'll have to see the percentage of games where he actually steals something versus those where he doesn't. Items, Radiant Frozen Heart starting mana is being changed from 60 to 45. Gargoyle Stoneplate is being nerfed from 20 to 18. I actually thought regular Gargoyles was not that good. Like, I'd still build it, but I feel like the other tank items are better. For example, you always see people building Bramble Vest or Warmogs or Dragon's Claw, but I don't see too many Gargoyle Stoneplates, so that's just my thoughts there. Giant Slayer damage amp is being changed from 70% to 60%. Yeah, Giant Slayer is being played too much. You guys already know my opinion on this. I always thought Giant Slayer was hidden OP because everyone's playing like Warmogs and high health tank lines, and it was like a reroll meta before last patch. But then they buffed Giant Slayer, and I feel like it got overbuffed, so I am glad that they are tuning it down a bit. So I completely agree here. Don't agree with the buff from before, though, to that degree. So Radiant Rapid Fire is having its bonus attack speed nerfed from 40% to 30%. I never really use this item that much just because the comps I play, they don't use Rapid Fire Cannon. So we'll have to see how this affects champions like Riven, Yasuo, and even Jax. So bug fixes. No more hitting yourself. Players who miss AFK checks will no longer be unintentionally forced to serve a Q dodge penalty like their League of Legends Rift pals would face. Rambling on and on. Bramble Vest no longer blocks more critical strike damage than intended. Oh, so they actually did nerf Bramble Vest. I didn't know this was a bug. I also don't know to what extent this bug was relevant, but we'll have to see there. Cruel Sightings. Teemo's ability now specifies that its attack speed slow lasts 3 seconds. Culminated again. Kennon's and Riven's stuns now properly cause Lucian to stop firing his ability. And then shooting blanks. Cannoneers holding Deathblade will no longer fire a non-functional Deathblade related visual in rare and odd scenarios. And then Air 11151. TFT is about skillfully controlling variants. Some players have been able to ignore variants and skillfully link together. First, in pro play, we are keeping an eye on this and discussing balance levers for pro players that are dominating tournaments too consistently. Exploration ideas include live bees, spilling milk on keyboards, and more live bees. In case you guys didn't know, the qualifications for the World Championships in North America happened, and a player named Robin Songs, which we actually had featured on this channel before, pretty much won every single game, which is really, really hard to do. I probably will make a small video on that, on how like improbable it is. But going on to the skins, Inktail Little Legends. Okay, so we have Aoshin, Feather Knight, and Paddlemar, and they're all available either through purchase or through eggs. And they also have blue and purple variants and red variants as well, actually a bunch more. So lots of little legends there. They have the prices down here, and then the esports Pengu. This one's actually looking pretty good. I actually like the base Pengu the most out of all the Pengus, and then of course my favorite little legend is going to be Dango. No Dango skins, unfortunately, but overall this patch, I agreed with pretty much every large change, but disagreed with a lot of the small changes, so just one thing to keep in mind there. But overall, I'd probably rate this patch around like 8 out of 10 or like 7.5 out of 10, which is actually pretty high considering I'm mostly negative for most of these patch notes. But yeah, let me know what comps you guys think will be the strongest in the coming patch. I will be releasing the meta snapshot on Friday, as I always do. So if you are interested in knowing what the best comps are, do subscribe below, and also bookmark my website, bunnymuffins.lol. All the links will be in the description below. But apart from that, I will see you all later.